Hi. One of the questions I get asked a lot from people who are just getting into wine is, well, how will I know what I like? That's kind of like when you're talking about food. How am I going to know if I'm going to like that type of food? Well, you got to try it. And that's the simplest answer, is try it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Or you don't like it right now. You might like it later. So, alright then, that being said, well then where do I go to try it? And that kind of becomes a problem. You don't want to go out and spend a lot of money for a bottle of wine you don't like, or not knowing whether you like it or not. It's kind of a gamble. And unless you're just made out of money, you don't want to be gambling that way. So here's something I found early on. There's a lot of places you can go, especially on Friday and Saturday evenings or daytime sometimes, and you can get either free or very, very inexpensive wine tastings. Now, what is a wine tasting? Well, that's where you go to a store, usually a store is where they'll be doing these, and you'll get just a little tiny bit in glass, maybe about an ounce or a half an ounce. Sometimes they'll be served in wine glasses, sometimes they'll be served in little plastic cups or paper cups or whatever. So, if it's free, you can't complain too much. I mean, free is free. Beggars can't be choosers. But I have found that's a really good way to learn about wines and what you like and don't like. Let's say you go in, and you've got a little table or display set up inside a store, and they're saying, hey, would you like to taste some wine? Well, sure, say yes, especially if it's free. What a better way can you learn what you like than to try it for nothing? So, a couple things happen with this. They say, well, what would you like first? Well, if you don't know that much, you don't know. So it's totally okay. So what would you recommend? Which order should I go in? And they'll probably tell you, oh, we'll start with this one, and most people like this one first, and they follow with that one, or whatever. Now, kind of some rules of thumb on that. If they have a mix of red and white, usually you want to do the whites first. If it's all white or all red, well, then you want to go from probably the lightest to the heaviest. And same with the whites. You'll go from light to the heavy. Or you'll go from the dry to the sweet, if you've got sweet wines involved. So, kind of vague, I know. You have to kind of play it by ear in some cases. So let's just look at reds. And let's say they have a Merlot, a Cabernet, and a Malbec. So Merlot, generally speaking, is going to be the lighter of those three. So you want to try that one first. It's kind of like you want to eat something, you have your salad first, and then you move on to something a little heavier, maybe your soup, and then you move on to your entree. So it's kind of in that same sense. You want to kind of build up that progression of flavors. And the reason for that, if you start with the biggest one first, then by the time you get to the smallest one, you can't taste it. It still tastes like the big one. Now, if you start with eating something like a big juicy steak and sour cream and all this type of stuff on a baked potato, what's your salad going to taste like? It's going to taste like kind of crunchy nothing. So that's why food is served in a certain order. That's why wine should be consumed in more or less an order of its own. Alright, so you're in the store, they've got this free wine tasting set up. You take the first one, either you say, I want to try this one first, or you say, what would you recommend, and they give it to you. So you taste it. We've already talked about how to taste. Now, if you're in a little plastic cup, it's kind of hard to really look at it. You can't really hold it up to light and all this type of stuff. But you can get an idea of the color, tip it a little bit, and kind of look at it. And then you can still smell it, although it's not going to be nearly as good as smelling a nice wine glass. So then it comes down to tasting it. Well, I will warn you, sometimes they're going to taste a little bit like plastic too. So you're going to smell the plastic. If it's a little plastic cup, it's going to smell a little plasticky. It's going to taste a little plasticky. Be aware of that. Don't give points against the wine because of the cup. You should always try and drink wine out of a good vessel, a good cup, or glass. But sometimes you just can't. You go with what you got. So if it's for free, it's a little plastic cup, roll with it. So you taste it, you determine what you can determine by tasting it, and then you decide, do I like this or not? So there you go. That's your determination. Okay, yeah, I tasted this wine, this XYZ wine, and boy, that really tasted good. How much is that? It's half a ticket, half a movie ticket. And if you watch my other video, you know what that means. Wow, that's a good bargain. I think I'll get me a bottle of that. Okay, so two things that happened there. You found something you like, and that store made a sale. That's why they're giving it to you for free, because they want you to like it and buy it. Yeah, buy it. Don't be afraid to buy a bottle. If it's, within your price range, of course. Now, chances are in a tasting like that, they're not going to have anything too expensive. So you might get something upwards to a ticket and a half to 2 tickets, but probably not. It's probably going to be in the 1 ticket range, which is your table wine range. So if you find some wines that are in that price range, and and you're comfortable with paying that much for it, and you like it, by all means, get a bottle or 2 if you really like it. Now, that's the first one. You don't necessarily buy it at that point, but you go to the second one. You may or may not like it. Third one, you may or may not like it, depending on how many they have. Just go down the line. After you've gone down, you say, "Wow, I really liked 3 out of the 4 of these. I didn't like that third one, but I liked 1, 2, and 4 really well. But my budget's only 1 bottle right now, so pick out which one you like the best of those 3. Make a note of the other 2. Maybe next time you're in the store, nothing going on. Well, you've already got 2 more that you can choose from. Say, okay, I'm going to take a bottle of number 1 with me today. Next time I come in, possibly I'll get a bottle number 2 or a bottle number 4. So you kind of build up your selection there. Now also pay attention to what type of wine it is in the sense of what grape it is. I mentioned Merlot earlier. If you get a bottle of Merlot as one of the sample ones, you like that, then you know you might like at least that Merlot. Now if you had a bottle of, if they're pouring out a bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon and you didn't like it, well, keep in mind that not all of them are going to be the same. Now you didn't like that one, but don't be afraid to try the next Cabernet Sauvignon. So you're at a different tasting someplace else, completely different label on the bottle, but they both are Cabernet Sauvignon. You didn't like the first one, go ahead and try that second one. Maybe you will like it. It's just like apple pie. Some apple pie is a lot better than other apple pie, but they're all apple pie. They should all taste the same, right? No, they don't. You know that. Just like one Cabernet Sauvignon bottle of wine is not going to be exactly the same as the next. They're all different. If they're all the same, you have about 5 bottles of wine to choose from, and that would be it. There's no fun in that. The thing that's so nice about wine is you can get 10 Cabernet Sauvignons, line them up, and they all taste a little bit different. There'll be similarities, and there should be. I mean, they are all the same type of grape, but they're not all going to be the same. So, whenever you have the opportunity to have a free tasting, take that opportunity. If it's a couple bucks, maybe that's worth it for you or not. So, depending on your budget and what they're charging for, if it's relatively inexpensive and you've got the extra cash to do it, go for it. If it's free, by all means, try it. I can guarantee you, on a free one, you're not going to get enough to be so drunk you can't drive home. If you're in a grocery store or something, yeah, do that first, then walk around, do your shopping. By the time you're ready to drive home or walk home or whatever, yeah, you'll be fine. So don't worry about that. So the key thing is, whenever you have a chance to try some wine for free, do it. So go out, drink some wine, buy some wine, taste some wine, and enjoy it. Cheers.